This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, we've got two pay-per-views we got to discuss and break down, as well as we've got WWE looking into making major changes to its business model, as well as some good news, bad news for these AEW stars. Also, we are celebrating the birth of my first child. Welcome to the world, KJ Strozinski. And help me break it all down and celebrate with me. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Yeah, what a great opportunity being a new dad that's staying at home for a couple weeks on paternity leave to watch two pay-per-views this weekend. Saturday afternoon, I know you get a chance maybe with the kid sitting down, maybe catching her first professional wrestling show with the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring. And then you get Double or Nothing on Sunday evening. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to break it all down. The blessing is, at the time we're recording this, we now know the official participants in the finals. We get a chance to break it all down. I'm excited for both these pay-per-views. Two companies going in a little bit different directions, but still, when you sent the card for Double or Nothing, bro, it's stacked. Even though the television programming for AEW has a lot of question marks, the matches that are set up for pay-per-views, generally speaking, for AEW, they deliver, and I can't wait to break it all down. I'm excited for both. I'm very excited for both shows.
Yeah, for sure. And look, this will be her first little tidbit into the wrestling world. So a great way for that. She gets the King and the Queen of the Ring from WWE on Saturday, and then Sunday night we'll be able to take in AEW. And you're right, two companies doing things a little bit different. You look at the lineup card for WWE. It's 5 matches. It's short. It's concise. These wrestlers are going to get a chance to tell their story. And then you look at AEW's, and it is stacked. It is jam-packed. It is busting at the seams because they've got so many matches. When I was pulling up the card and I was putting together our rundown, I was like, holy cow, man. I was like, this is absolutely nuts. I was like, you look at what WWE's doing. And I said this to Alyssa. I was like, look, we've got like 5 matches on Saturday. I was like, everybody's going to get enough time to tell their story. Everybody's going to get enough time to do their show and do whatever they got to do. It's going to be probably a quick pay-per-view. 2.5, 3 hours. We'll be in and out, and it'll be fantastic. And I was like, and she's like, what's AEW got? Like 15? And I was like, close. I was like, they've got 10. And I was like, this is bonkers. Like, it's just two companies doing things completely different. And you're right. When you look at the television product, it really feels like WWE is almost in this like golden renaissance for their television. It has been so good. It's so compelling. There are great stories that we're being told. It's really good wrestling that we're getting every single week. And then you look at AEW, and the programming's not bad. I feel like it has slipped compared to where it was in the past because it really felt like Dynamite was must-see TV. Like you had to tune in every week. I feel like right now you can be a casual listener or a casual watcher of the program, and you're like, okay, no big deal. But what they do on their pay-per-views is they really knock it out of the park. If you're missing a pay-per-view, you are missing a ton. And I don't know if that's good or if that's bad. I feel like when it comes to TV money and it comes to television ratings itself, it's probably bad. It's probably hurting you. But when it comes to pay-per-view buys, AEW hasn't missed on their pay-per-views. They have been incredible. They've given you some of the best pay-per-views of the year, and we're only 5 months in. We're not even halfway through the year yet. So it's like you said, it's a bit of a weird business model, and it's a bit of two companies doing things completely different. Do you have a problem with the way either one of these companies are kind of facilitating their I guess their company, right, with their storylines and with their wrestling, and then kind of how they're handling their pay-per-view products?
Yeah, look, it's challenging in that with AEW, a lot of times, look, you just had a go-home show, and would I judge the pay-per-view based on that? If I just said watch the go-home show, would that make me buy the pay-per-view? No, it was very fast-paced, and it just made you go, oh my goodness, they had a crazy moment with with Aleister Black and Edge, which was really cool. But it was just so fast-paced. They tried to cram so much into it. They aren't really telling the best stories. They are trying to evolve and tell some stories, plant some seeds, which is good. But I would just say this, that AEW just kind of has the nostalgic feel and just kind of doing a lot of things that people have seen before, whereas WWE is just going to heights that are brand new with the storytelling, with the cameras, with everything at just a high level. They have a lot of stars. And for AEW, it just maybe just a situation in which you got a bloated roster that you probably is maybe 20% overstacked, and you got to kind of trim a little bit, where some of the matches we're going to talk about have little to no investment.
Yeah, I think you're right there. It's one of those things where if you watched Dynamite this past week, there's nothing there that makes me want to spend $50. There's nothing there that makes me want to go and say, hey, I got to get Double or Nothing. But you just kind of been conditioned that it's going to be a good pay-per-view. You look at the lineup card, it's going to be pretty solid. You're right. You had a crazy moment with Aleister Black and with Edge, and we're going to get into all of that the second half of this show when we're talking about AEW's Dynamite or AEW's Double or Nothing. But you closed the show with Darby Allin in a flamethrower, and that was a cool scene, and it was a cool screen grab. But you look at the rest of what you got, it just kind of was like, all right, whatever. It was a Wednesday night. We watched Dynamite. Whereas with WWE, it feels like you have more poignant moments. And with that being said, let's get into WWE's card here. King of the Ring, taking place from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. It's going to take place on Saturday, May 25th at 1 p.m. You can check it out on Peacock if you have the app. Obviously, streaming is what they've been doing for a long time. We're going to kind of talk about how they're going to use their pay-per-views and what they do with their pay-per-views, and possibly change some of their business models way later in the show in the news and notes segment, and how that might impact Raw and SmackDown. So you want to stick around for that. But let's kick this bad boy off. We've got the Women's World Championship match. We've got Becky Lynch defending her title against Liv Morgan. I think Becky Lynch wins this. I think Liv's going to go out there and she's going to have a hell of a show. But I think Becky Lynch wins this. I think you're going to keep Becky with the title until Rhea can come back. And when Rhea comes back, at that point, she might have some issues with Liv, and then she might take up some stuff with Becky Lynch. It feels like we've got this Liv Dominic storyline kind of continuing on. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with that and how they develop that out more. But I think for right now, I think Becky Lynch retains her title. We'll get around to Liv Morgan when Rhea Ripley gets back, and then Rhea Ripley can then set her eyes on Becky Lynch.
I agree with you 100%. That's crazy with WWE is that maybe our predictions will be quite similar, but the matches in and of itself are going to be so intriguing. They get time. When you get time, you have opportunities to do a lot of different things, and I think that with these performers, you can give them 40 minutes, and a lot of them can carry their weight. So this is an interesting match. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a swerve, if maybe it wasn't exactly a clean finish, but I think Becky Lynch deserves a nice title run, and she's going to win this match.
All right, our next match is a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. You've got Sami Zayn taking on Chad Gable, taking on Bronson Reed. Does Sami retain and come out the victor in this? How do you see this one playing out?
It's tough too, right? Because you can see Bronson Reed being a monster, being somebody that is a huge star in the making in the future because of his size, the matches that he's had with the big boys in the division. And Raw has had some special moments with matches that have taken place with Bronson Reed. I think he's got the star potential, but I don't see him winning it right now. It would be a big disservice to Sami Zayn to have him lose a title. And so I think that in this situation, you have a great match, knockout, drag-out brawl. Could get wonky all over the place, but man, Sami Zayn's going to win this, and I can't wait for his entrance.
All right, I see it a little bit different. I think you kind of got a little bit of a sneak peek what might be taking place with Chad Gable going forward. Seems like the Creed brothers are going to be brought in. I think Creed brothers maybe play a role in this match, possibly take out a guy like Bronson Reed, so Chad Gable can then take out a guy like Sami Zayn. I think when it's a triple threat match, I don't think DQs are an issue. So I think you're going to have the Creed brothers playing a bit of a role in Chad Gable. Chad Gable is going to establish a new stable, and Chad Gable will be your new Intercontinental Champion. So we'll see what takes place. I feel like there is a a nice chunk of the story right here with this Intercontinental Championship match. There's a lot going on with it, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out going forward. All right, we've got the Queen of the Ring final. We've got Lia Valkyria taking on Nia Jax. Look, remember, the winner of each of these tournaments, whether it's the men's or the women's King or Queen of the Ring, they will receive a championship match at WWE's SummerSlam on August 3rd, 2024. So the winner of this gets a title match at SummerSlam. I've got Lia Valkyria beating Nia Jax, and the reason for this is very simple. I feel like we've done the Nia Jax thing. I feel like we've done Nia Jax being that number one contender, being that front runner. Lia Valkyria was just brought up from NXT. She does have a bit of a history with Becky Lynch. I think you can lean into that storyline as we build towards SummerSlam, because that's going to be the next big breakoff for Becky Lynch. So I think you can lean into all of that. You have Lia Valkyria, Becky Lynch telling their stories. They're going to be very similar. It feels like it's going to be this pupil and master type of storyline where Becky Lynch, obviously being the elder stateswoman, is going to kind of try to coach up Valkyria as they kind of get to this match at SummerSlam. But maybe Valkyria surprises her a little bit. Again, like I said, they have history from NXT. Valkyria took the NXT championship off Becky Lynch. I think Valkyria is the winner, and I think it's going to tell for a much more compelling story when we go forward.
No, I got to lean into Nia Jax. I think you need to have
Love
a top
Nia
heel.
Jax, bro.
Yeah, I know it's tough. It would not appeal to a lot of people, but I think Nia Jax is somebody that at this point in time needs to kind of be that top heel, and you want to build up a monster that can potentially be a world champion. And while I don't know if she's going to be a world champion, I think the opportunity presents itself. I disagree. I think Nia Jax wins this.
All right, interesting. This is one of those cards where I thought for sure we'd be in lockstep all the way through it, and we've already thrown each other a couple of curveballs, so it's a little bit different. And look, this next one right here, King of the Ring, I feel like you can go two different ways. You can tell two very interesting stories. For me, this feels like it could be the coronation for Gunther, right? He did a fantastic job as the Intercontinental Champion. This could be his breakoff to get his shot at a guy like Cody Rhodes. It could be his breakoff to basically catapult him into the future. Or you can go Randy Orton, right? And you could tell a really compelling story with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes and kind of what has transpired in the past, where, again, you have a master-pupil type of storyline. Because remember, Randy Orton was the guy who kind of took Cody Rhodes underneath his wing. We have a history there. You can lean into that history. You could tell a fantastic story. So it's going to be interesting to see which way these guys go. Who do you have winning this match?
Look, man, I think when the caveat was made that the winner of the match has a SummerSlam opportunity, I think the poster is going to look great with Gunther on it. So Gunther's the man. He's in that picture. There's no other way. I would be shocked if anybody else but Gunther is the King of the Ring. He's been poised to be the man, and he is the guy that's going to lead this charge in the summer to be the biggest threat for a world championship.
So it would be Gunther versus Damian Priest, if I recall correctly, because Gunther is on Raw. So it would be Gunther or Damian Priest, and that could be a very interesting story. I feel like you could get Gunther in that title picture no matter what. Obviously, he is very credible. But I like Randy Orton winning this. I like Randy Orton winning. I like doing this master-pupil storyline for both Lia Valkyria and Becky Lynch and Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Now, obviously, a little bit of a different story with who's challenging. You've got the master challenging the pupil with Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and you've got Lia Valkyria chasing her master and Becky Lynch. So I'm going to go Randy Orton on this. Again, just us being different with how we're seeing this card play out. It's going to be a really interesting card. This doesn't happen often where me and you are this far apart on a card. So definitely somebody's going to get some points here. We then have our Undisputed Championship match. I got Cody Rhodes beating Logan Paul for this one. They took away Logan Paul's belt being up for grabs in this. I don't see how you have Cody Rhodes lose this, especially if you're trying to tell the same story that I want to tell with Randy Orton. I think Cody Rhodes wins this, and I think that's the direction we go. I'm assuming that you're going to also pick Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's going to be a great matchup. The question mark and all these kind of things is now Cody Rhodes wants to have great wrestling matches, and Logan Paul presents that opportunity. You want to see the high spot. You want to see what the hell is Logan Paul going to do when he's given the opportunity. And time in, time out, he's shown that he can handle the business and he can handle things and make a name for himself. So I'm very curious to see how it shakes out, and I think that Logan Paul is going to make a name for himself. And look, that's the sign of a great champion, is not only to be a guy that sells tickets, but when it's go time and the lights are on, it's time to make other superstars. And this has a chance where Cody Rhodes has a chance to make a new superstar to another level, even in Logan Paul. And on SmackDown, it was real interesting to see that little handshake between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. A reminder of those from the past that, hey, there's a story there, and eventually they'll tap into it. And WWE does a great job of planting those seeds.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely, they do. Now, let's switch gears a little bit, and let's go over to AEW's Double or Nothing. I said 10 matches earlier. I'm assuming we're going to get an additional pre-show match. It's usually what happens with AEW Double or Nothing. Takes place on Sunday, May 26th. The pre-show is going to kick off at 10 p.m. The main card right now has 9 matches slotted. Main card gets started at 8 p.m. Like I said, I'm assuming we're going to get another pre-show match, so we'll see what takes place. Before we know it, it'll be at 10 or 11 matches. So a fully stacked card. I feel like WWE's pay-per-view is going to get done in 2.5, 3 hours. This will probably be another one of those 5-hour-long pay-per-views, maybe 5.5 hours long. But a whole lot going on here. Starting us off, we've got Roderick Strong defending his AEW International Championship against Will Ospreay. I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this, and I think it's might be the same place I'm going to go. When I was watching Dynamite, I was kind of going back and forth with myself. I feel like Roddy needs a little bit, and also that faction needs a little bit. So him getting a big win against Will Ospreay tells a really great story. But you also have to remember they've got Wembley Stadium coming up here soon. That's their gigantic summertime showcase. I've got Will Ospreay getting the AEW International Championship here and holding on to it all the way through the Wembley show that they're going to have later on in the year. So I've got Will Ospreay defeating Roderick Strong to kick this bad boy off.
Absolutely. That's how I see it. I think that Will Ospreay is the overwhelming favorite. It would be a shocker if something happened where the title didn't change hands. Will Ospreay is on the trajectory to the moon, and it was good to see. It was good to see that Ospreay got beat down. He sold it very well on Dynamite, and hey, you do what you got to do to sell a fight. But Will Ospreay is going to shine, and it'll always be when he's on a card an opportunity to steal the show. So I can't wait to see the match. Will Ospreay is going to win it.
Yeah, it should be an absolutely fantastic match. Next match, we've got Timeless Toni Storm defending her AEW Women's World Championship against Serena Deeb. How do you see this one playing out? Because Serena Deeb, now it seems like she is more the heel while Toni Storm is the face. Serena Deeb is somebody who, it seems like she has a really interesting story. And it seems like she should connect more with the fans. She really doesn't seem to have that connection, and I don't know why. It seems like she is like a 4-tool player, right? She's not a 5-tool player. She's got everything in the bag. She can wrestle. She can work. She can do high spots. She can do all the things. She can cut a promo. It seems to all fall flat. Doesn't seem like she has that personal connection with the fans. And I don't know if it's just she hasn't been put in that position to be able to garner that, or she just struggles to make that connection. She can do everything, but she just doesn't have that connection. Do they put the belt on her? I'm wondering how you see this one going. 'Cause I'll be honest with you, I don't. I think Toni Storm retains her belt.
No, I agree with you. Toni Storm is a crazy wild star. She's embraced the heel character, but the fans like her. And it's great. Every segment that she's on, she's got that ability to draw attention. So it just got to be a good match. But all in all, it will be a scenario in which it would be quite the shock if Serena Deeb is the world champion. I think Toni Storm is timeless, and she's building up her reputation as being someone that can really carry that division. And there's bigger matches to be made at pay-per-views that would involve timeless Toni Storm. So to me, you have to keep it on her. It would be, I think, a mistake if you have her lose the belt right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it would be a gigantic misstep if she loses it. I find her character right now to be ever so enjoyable. I think she's been absolutely fantastic as of late. All right, our next match. We've got Adam Copeland taking on Malachi Black. And look, this is a steel barbed wire match that they're going to have. This is supposed to be something dark and brooding. I use the word brooding as a bit of a pun there. This is kind of how I see this match playing out, and I'm wondering if you agree or not. With the blood drop that we got on Dynamite, I think we're going to see a bit of a callback to Adam Copeland's Brood character. I think we get a bit of a callback to what we used to have in WWE. Don't be surprised if AEW brings in Gangrel. I think that this is going to be an interesting time for Adam Copeland to shine and to kind of do some of the stuff that he wants to do. There was an interview that he did. I don't know if it was with Chris Van Vliet or if it was one of the wrestling magazines, but he talked about how he wanted to do this Brood character, this rehash of the Brood character in WWE. And everybody's like, nobody's going to remember Gangrel. Nobody's going to remember Gangrel. And I remember that time vividly because we talked about them possibly bringing back Gangrel. And they never did. And I think you might see Gangrel here. And don't be surprised if this maybe works its way into a spinoff where maybe Christian loses against Swerve, and maybe Christian kind of leans more into this darker character, this darker persona, and you get Adam Copeland and Christian, and you get Gangrel back, and we get this revitalized version of the Brood, which I think would be a lot of fun to watch. I've got Adam Copeland going completely Brood and retaining his AEW TNT Championship match in this barbed wire match.
It would be crazy if they did give the belt to Malachi Black. Don't you think it's finally time, though, that they kind of take a step forward? It would make sense as a booker to kind of start to have Edge put people over. And do you feel like the TNT Championship is a belt that, needs to be elevated? See, to me, I think what's best for business is to have Malachi Black win, but I think that in the way you're thinking, too, is that you want also Copeland to kind of give more prestige to this belt and to defend it. And the violence in this match, I think that it lends to the credibility of having Edge win this. And it would be great to see Gangrel. All the marks will pop and have a good time with it. But to me, I would not be surprised if Malachi won it. But in the end, Edge is going to win it and have a nice run, too, because you got to start establishing some of these titles that you have. And if you end up giving, you have the belt on Edge, I don't think it's fair to have him just lose it right away.
Yeah, for sure. And look, at some point you got to do something with Malachi Black. You got to figure out what you want to do. I find him to be an interesting character because he has run up against Tony Khan and they've butted heads at time with a couple of different things. And I just don't know what you're going to end up doing with Malachi Black. It seems like he wants to go back to WWE, so I don't know how they're going to kind of play out the rest of his contract. His contract expires here shortly, and by shortly I mean within the next year to maybe 18 months. But I don't know what you do with him because it's very rare that you see him on Dynamite. You've seen him more now because he's in the storyline with Adam Copeland. But there are times and stretches where he's not on television for any length of time. And then there's times like this where you get him kind of thrust into a storyline, but you're not really sure where to go with him or what to do with him. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Malachi Black, but yeah, I don't see Adam Copeland losing his belt. Next, we've got Jon Moxley taking on Takeshita in an IWGP World Heavyweight Championship Eliminator match. I feel like this match would be fantastic if it didn't have the caveat of being an eliminator match for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I feel like if we could get Takeshita versus Jon Moxley and they were fighting for something, I feel like it would be a fantastic, interesting match. But because it's an eliminator match for the IWGP World Championship or the World Heavyweight match, to me, it feels like the story's already been written. It feels like Jon Moxley's walking out the winner of this match, no matter what Takeshita does. And I feel like at some point, Takeshita needs to get a little bit of a run in New Japan. I think it would be fantastic for him, and I think it'd be fantastic for AEW, and I feel like it'd be fantastic for New Japan to bring this guy in and let him do some stuff. I feel like he would be such a huge star there if they booked him well, and I feel like it would cross-correlate over to AEW and be a really nice way to help catapult him and just kind of help showcase him a little bit more. So to me, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with him and if he does get a run in New Japan. But for this match, I've got Jon Moxley winning.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be violent. And that's what I think these two guys are relishing the opportunity to fight each other. And it'll be fun for these individuals to get in the ring and continue their rivalry. Takeshita, look, man, I think that he was kind of the splash signing for a minute. And now that he's there, he's got to kind of take that next step. And that's kind of the spot he's got to be in, is in those big matches. You got to create good memories, and there's no doubt that he can do it. And Takeshita is a guy that when he's out there, you're naturally drawn to want to see what he does. So I can't wait to see the match. But again, yep, Jon Moxley is going to win it.
All right, next match that we've got Trent Beretta, who I'm falling. I love Trent Beretta, and I'm falling in love with his heel character. I think it's fantastic. Taking on Orange Cassidy. With the way Dynamite ended with Cassidy getting choked out on the ramp by Beretta, that leads me to believe that the babyface gets his retribution. I've got Orange Cassidy beating Trent Beretta in this match.
Yeah, that was violent. It was cool to see. It was getting Trent Beretta some attention and some hype for this matchup. Yeah, Dynamite was just so frenetic. They just tried to throw everything out there in terms of all the things that they had on that show. But Orange Cassidy is somebody that's real interesting. We'll talk about him in the coming weeks in regards to what's next. Like, does he take another step forward? It's kind of like you need an intercontinental title kind of thing, where I know you have it's called the international title, and I know, but it doesn't have the prestige yet. But you need that secondary belt to have the prestige, because a guy like Orange Cassidy would probably take it and be the right guy for it at this point in time. Kind of feels like just below main event status, but right there where a title run with a special belt could put him in that main event picture. But Orange Cassidy still doing his thing, and he'll get the W.
All right, our next match, Chris Jericho and his Learning Tree, holding on to the FTW World Championship, taking on Hook and Shibata. How do you see this one playing out? Who do you think wins this?
Man, I wonder. You keep hearing all these rumors about Hook. I think Hook gets it back. He's got to, get the belt back and have his opportunity. Shibata is going to be a great addition to this matchup. Chris Jericho, is kind of slowing down a little bit. He's got to put these people over. And he got his early run against Hook, but Hook's got to take that title back.
All right, I got Chris Jericho retaining it. I think this has to help elevate his Learning Tree, help elevate what he's got going. Don't forget, Big Bill could play a part in all of this as well. So I've got Chris Jericho retaining this belt. We'll see what takes place on Sunday night. This moves us along to our women's AEW TBS Championship match, where you've got Willow Nightingale taking on Mercedes Moné. This will be Mercedes Moné's first match in an AEW ring. Unfortunately, I think she wins. I'm kind of over her character. It was cathartic to watch her get powerbombed through a table 2 weeks ago on Dynamite. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I just think the cards are stacked against Willow Nightingale. I don't think they keep the belt on her. I think they put it on Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a coronation. She's got to have a good match. She's got to kick this thing off strong, so I hope that there's an opportunity for that to happen. Mercedes Moné has been given an investment, and now you got to pay it off when the match comes.
All right, we next have our Anarchy in the Arena match. You've got the Elite, the Young Bucks, Okada, Jack Perry, taking on Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin, maybe his flamethrower, and FTR. How do you see this one playing out? Because this could go a couple of ways, right? I was thinking when I was watching this, everybody is referring to this as the Elite versus AEW. And if you look at the guys who are in AEW, all but Darby Allin are guys who have been in WWE, while everybody in the Elite has never worked for WWE. So it's funny to me that they referred to the guys who are not the Elite as being Team AEW, because when most of these guys were Team WWE at one point. I just find it to be a little bit interesting, a little bit funny for myself. I just kind of laugh at myself when I see that. But you've got the Elite who are in this power hungry control right now. You got to see on Dynamite Tony Khan dropping off Darby Allin. They fist bumped. It was a cool little segment. Darby Allin comes out onto the ramp with the flamethrower. They ended up throwing, I believe it was Nick through the table. This could go either way. This is a coin flip match. When you call it a coin flip match, this is the definition of it. I'm not sure where this goes. Who do you see winning this match?
Do they give the birthday boy Bryan Danielson the win? I think it's wild, man, with everything going on, and how the scary part is that the biggest hope for all of us wrestling fans is that all these dudes end up getting out of this match healthy. These kind of anarchy in the match, anarchy in the arena matches can get crazy. You know what I mean? I'm curious to see Okada, Jack Perry, what are they willing to do? Darby Allin's a freak and he'll do anything. This is crazy because it has the feeling that the authority needs to kind of win to take it to the next level, but eventually the baby faces need to get it paid off. But to me, the better wrestlers are the Young Bucks, Okada, and Jack Perry. Do you really want to have them take a loss? I think that would be kind of really devastating to lose this match. I think they gotta wreak havoc, and I think in the end, you probably would have Okada, maybe pin Allen or pin Danielson. You got to have a statement. And I know Okada is a legend, but for those new wrestling fans that tune in or if they're going to check it out, they're not going to know based on his promos of what kind of guy he is because he's only given a couple word sentences here and there. But in this kind of a matchup, he's got to kind of be dominant. And I think that, to me, the authority's got to win. Young Bucks, Okada, and Jack Perry. You can't have a faction being ruthless and then end up losing these feuds. So I would give it to the new Elite.
Yeah, as you talked about it, I was like, which one would help elevate a story, right? Which one would help move things forward and set up for something bigger? And it's got to be the Elite, right? The Elite have to win because it helps continue their tyrannical, power-hungry struggle that they're on right now where they're just kind of pissing off all of the AEW wrestlers. It sets them up for a chance to basically be redeemed, AEW to be saved by Kenny Omega when he's able to return. It kind of builds this match to have you have Kenny Omega taking on Okada for all of it, right? For the rights to AEW is what it'll feel like. And I think that would be the bigger, better story. And you can tell that at Wembley, you can tell that wherever you want down the road. So I think for right now, this is just kind of a chapter in a book or in the story that we've got. And I think because of that, you've got to get the Elite to win this match. Our final match, our main event, it is Swerve Strickland taking on Christian Cage for the AEW World Championship. I've got Swerve winning this. Look, I liked what we've seen on Dynamite. You got a return from Prince Nana. I know he's your absolute favorite. I don't know why you take the belt off of Swerve. Like I said, I feel like you can do other things with Christian, especially if we go down this Brood storyline. You want Adam Copeland and Christian have wanted to wrestle together for a while. This is a way to do that. It frees Christian up to do that. So I've got Swerve winning this match.
Not only do I like Prince Nana, but it seemed like the ovation that he got on Dynamite was pretty ruckus. He's only been gone for like 3 weeks. So it's pretty cool. It is always weird when Swerve is out there and Nana's not there. It kind of feels less than. And when he returns, like I said, he's the ultimate hype man, and he's earned his way into that pop that he got. He'll get another pop hopefully at the pay-per-view. And yeah, Swerve is going to be a fighting champion, and I think he's going to create a lot of good memories. He's going to walk out of the pay-per-view with a potential fight of the night match and have an opportunity to make a name for himself, furthering his the belief the company has given in him to be the world champion. Swerve Strickland, baby.
All right, so as far as calling the card goes, it is 3-2. I'm leading you by 1 point. Let's do a quick recount. There's definitely going to be some points won here this week. We could maybe tie on the AEW pay-per-view, but somebody is walking away a winner with the WWE pay-per-view. So somebody's going to get some points, could possibly be 2. Really quick, working in reverse order. We both have Swerve Strickland winning. We both have the Elite winning. We both have Mercedes Moné becoming the new AEW TBS champion. Now, where we differ, you've got Hook winning the FTW championship back, and you might get the point because of that. I've got Chris Jericho retaining it because I think it furthers his storyline along. And then we both have both have Orange Cassidy winning against Trent Beretta, Jon Moxley. We both have Adam Copeland winning. We both have Tony Storm winning, and we both have Will Ospreay becoming the new AEW International Champion. When you go to the WWE side, we both have Cody Rhodes retaining. I've got Randy Orton winning the King of the Ring. You've got Gunther winning King of the Ring. When it comes to the ladies' side, I've got Laya Valkyria winning. You've got Nia Jax winning. When it comes to the Intercontinental Championship match, you've got Sami Zayn retaining, and I've got Chad Gable winning. And then we both have Becky Lynch retaining her belt as the Women's World Champion. So a great weekend of wrestling. Check it all out. Would you like some news and notes this week?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
So WWE is seeking to make major changes to its business model for both Raw and SmackDown and other PLEs. In recent comments at the JP Morgan Global Technology Media Communications Conference, TKO COO Mark Shapiro said that attendance site fees and prices are key performance indicators, while he talked about packaging UFC and WWE events. Shapiro would go on to say that the site fee doesn't have to be all cash, but WWE has to be heavily incentivized to bring its events to cities. Dave Meltzer has provided further insights into this site fee plans on Wrestling Observer Radio, saying right now they're just getting them for pay-per-view shows and not even necessarily every pay-per-view show in the United States. Although now that the B shows have been primarily moved overseas and they're getting site fees for those shows, and the A shows are going to mostly be stadium shows, maybe Survivor Series will still be an arena show, but the idea that they're working on getting site fees. They already do this for the Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and WrestleMania, and they're working on getting them for Money in the Bank and Survivor Series. And now the next step is to get communities to pay them to bring Raw and SmackDown tapings in. Hey, more power to them if they can get it. Meltzer would add, they're giving you the building for free, and you're going to get paid to come in, and you're going to get other benefits from the city, promotional and everything like that. They'll help you promote your event because it's incumbent on them for the event to be successful, because the whole idea of spending that money is to bring people into the city and come to restaurants and stay at hotels for all of that. We'll see if they can pull it off, and if they do that, that's transformative. So they want to basically get paid to bring Raw and SmackDown to your city, which I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if that will work. They are trying to do it for all of the pay-per-views. They already do it for some of the major ones, and most of the B pay-per-views have been moved overseas where they're getting those. But I want to ask you real quick before we move into some stuff from AEW. Do you think that would work for Raw and for SmackDown, where you say you have the city of Detroit paying WWE to come in and to basically perform its Monday or Friday night show, and the city of Detroit is giving them money, or the Detroit what is it? The Detroit Council, the thing that we worked with before. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. We did some work with them where they promote events around the city. I don't know if they're going to be willing to pay for that type of an event to be in the city of Detroit. I don't know if other cities are going to be willing to do that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're talking about the Detroit Sports Commission.
Yes, that one. Thank you.
Yeah, they do the great work to bring great events locally. I just think it might eliminate some towns in the future, because big towns like to have events, but I don't think that they're used to the model of having to pay for them to come, especially knowing when there's so many artists and things like that. If WWE is successful, that could transcend and change the sport, change the sporting landscape, and change how maybe even big time acts will say, "Hey, I'll do a tour, but I need big time appearance fees to do a lot of these different shows." So we'll see if it works. Hey, for WWE, I could see it for the pay-per-views, no doubt about it. For the big ones, 6, 7, you could get, especially with how they built up the brands, Money in the Bank, Survivor Series. It's crazy to think about. But I'll ask you this: do you think that more than one of if you're going to do a site fee, do you think that some of the big four should end up being 2 nights? If you're going to end up paying, if I'm going to pay, then bring me another night so that we can sell more tickets.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do this, if we're paying you to come into the city, I feel like you got to do a 2-night thing. I feel like it has to be that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense for Raw or for SmackDown. And if you've seen some of WWE's putting on, like I said, they're in like a golden renaissance of what they're doing right now. So people are attending their shows. But if you've ever gone to a Raw or a SmackDown, there are times where it's not a sold out show. There are times where it's not a great attendance. So how you make that money back as a city is by getting people into your downtown area and then spending money, going out to eat, buying different stuff from different people different merchants that are selling things. That's how that works. I don't know if a Raw or a SmackDown brings that type of foot traffic. You know it does for pay-per-views. If you've ever gone to a pay-per-view, you and I went to SummerSlam this last year, or a year ago, and there was a ton of foot traffic down there. There was a ton of people down there. I went down there and I ate at a local restaurant. I kind of walked around, did a little bit of shopping, a little bit of perusing, but that's how they get that money to pay for those shows. I don't know if there is enough there in a one-off Monday Night Raw or a one-off SmackDown where that
I don't want to be
that.
Yeah, I don't want to be disrespectful, but if I'm working my math right, August, September, October, November, we're now in May. Was KJ conceived at SummerSlam? Did I miss something?
KJ was actually conceived
at Ford Field.
I think.
What?
I think it was right before SummerSlam. I'd have to look at the dates. Alyssa knows the exact day when it happened. But yeah, it was right around that time. So yeah. I don't know if it was in the bathroom though.
Okay, got it.
All right, let's move on. I don't think it's going to work for Raw or SmackDown. I think it'll work for the pay-per-views though. All right, so bad news for this AEW star. Eddie Kingston suffered a legit injury. How do I get the show back on track? Way to derail it. Eddie Kingston suffered a legit injury during his last man standing match against Gabe Kidd at New Japan or in New Japan Wrestling. The match took place at New Japan Wrestling Resurgent on May 11th, 2024, with Kingston losing his New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. Kingston would be suplexed from the ring onto a table outside of the ring. During his landing, his leg was met with the barricade. Kingston would leave the match, favoring his right leg afterward. Mind you, Kingston, I'm going to tell you what happened to him. I'm going to give you the details of his injury. Remember this. Kingston has this happen to his leg when his leg meets the barricade. He then has to finish the match. So he gets back into the ring after everything is said and done. And he has to do a closing angle with the Elite. So they drag him into the middle of the ring, and they end up super kicking him, and they end up just bludgeoning him, and he's basically written off. It wasn't supposed to write him off. It was just supposed to add fuel to the fire for the Anarchy and the Arena match. But Eddie Kingston had to do all of this with this injury that I'm about to tell you. Just goes to tell you what a pro Eddie Kingston is. According to PW Insider, not only did Kingston sustain a tubular fracture, go look that up, it's horrible, but he also tore his ACL and his meniscus. The extent of the injuries will require him to undergo surgery to repair the damage and rehab to follow. Kingston originally had hoped to return for AEW's All In London on August 25th, 2024. However, post-surgery recovery is likely to mean that Kingston's return will be closer to 9 months away, with a likely return date of January of 2025. Kingston basically destroyed his leg and then still had to finish into a closing angle with a mangled ass leg. Absolutely bonkers. Now, sticking with injuries in AEW, some good news about MJF. Fightful Select provided an update noting that MJF could be nearing his return to the company very soon. The report notes that the discussion has taken place regarding MJF's return in regards to how it will look, alterations in its presentation, and the like. There are several sources that believe that Friedman could be coming back immediately or imminently, with most expecting the former AEW World Champ to return in his hometown of Long Island, New York for the upcoming Forbidden Door pay-per-view, if not sooner. MJF has remained under AEW contract for quite some time after reportedly inking an extension with the company, which effectively replaced his previous deal that was set to expire on December 31st, 2023. As per his new deal, Friedman is now among the highest earners in All Elite Wrestling. However, he is currently out of action, recovering from multiple injuries. MJF was last seen at AEW's World's End in December of 2023, where Samoa Joe defeated him to become the new AEW World Champion. So we could be getting MJF back. We are losing Eddie Kingston for a little bit, and possibly my baby was conceived in the bathroom at an LCA during SummerSlam. That's going to do it for this week's news and notes. I feel like that's the most news and notes you'll ever get on this show.
For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, make sure you follow him on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you see these pay-per-views going differently, hit us up. If you're excited for the return of MJF, let us know. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a great opportunity this weekend to sit back, watch some wrestling, and enjoy Memorial Day weekend. These companies, man, they're packing it in. 1 o'clock start for King and Queen of the Ring, so you can get that out of the way quickly, and then the traditional start time for Double or Nothing, which is the anniversary of the company. And so we'll see if AEW now, after 5 years, they've been in business, now you got to kind of make or break this year in terms of the second half of 2024, because a lot of negativity surrounding AEW, and a lot of times you got to build momentum coming out of pay-per-views. So that's what's got to happen this go-around with these pay-per-views. I can't wait to break it all down. Again, make sure you follow Adam at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Can't wait to recap it all next week on the latest edition of Doc and Jock on the latest Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.